So, like all people with great social lives, I created a Doctor Who spreadsheet. This means that I've ended up gathering a bunch of interesting stats, or at least stats that I find interesting. Such as, if you were to pick a random story from classic and modern Who, there's an almost 1 in 8 chance that Stephen Moffat wrote it, and also 31% of stories were written by one of the 3 new Who showrunners, though this is slightly skewed by the fact that modern stories are shorter, so more of them are written each year. Speaking of durations, here are some more facts. The total length of all the episodes in Season 4 is more than 3 times as long as the total duration of Season 26. Season 4 is 17 hours and 19 minutes long, while Season 26 is only 5 hours and 39 minutes. This is because at the start of the show's run, seasons would go on for about 40 parts, however from the 70s this was shortened to around 26 parts. It stayed at around this until the 1985 hiatus. Then, all the following seasons only had 14 parts total. So, while Hartnell and Troughton have more runtime than most Doctors, I think their era is often overlooked due to how many of their stories are missing. In comparison, the new Who Series 4 and 2009 specials have a combined duration longer than all of the 15th Doctor's era. This is because without the specials, Series 4 is still longer than any of the 3 series that preceded it. The main causes for this are the extended Christmas special and the longer finale. And while there are only a few specials, they all have durations over 50 minutes. On the other hand, these most recent 2 seasons have a much reduced episode count, with each only having 8 episodes and a Christmas special. This results in Series 4 and the specials having over 16 hours and 35 minutes of duration, compared to Gatwa's complete total of 14 hours and 35 minutes. This means that he has the 3rd shortest duration of any Doctor, after Eccleston and McGann, currently making up only 3.2% of the entire show. The full duration of Doctor Who, old and new, is over 450 hours, which means that if you were to watch all the stories back to back without any breaks, it would take more than 18 days to watch it all. And if you instead only spend 3/4 of a day watching, leaving you time to eat and sleep, then you would need 25 days to complete the watch through. 290 hours of this duration belong to the classic series alone, as that spanned 26 years of regular series. Viewing figures. This is how many viewers tuned in during the broadcast of each story, measured in millions. For classic Who serials, I've averaged the viewers across the parts. Viewing figures are often used as an indicator of quality, where I think this can be misleading. People can't know how good an episode is when they choose whether or not to watch it. The amount of viewers at any time can also be influenced by other factors, such as if the weather is particularly good, or if rival channels are off air. However, the general trend of viewers over long spans of time can be useful for gaining insight into how many people are interested in the show. One notable stat from the viewing figures is that The Ultimate Foe had more viewers than the first 2 stories in Trial of a Time Lord. At an average of 5 million viewers, The Ultimate Foe was watched more than The Mysterious Planet and Mind Warp, meaning that there must have been people who only tuned in for the last story of the season without any of the prior context from seeing earlier episodes. And as this season incorporated the ongoing storyline of the Doctor's trial, watching the previous stories would be more crucial than in other seasons. Though, given how much of a mess this story is, this context probably doesn't make much of a difference, like how the weird timeline stuff with Mel makes it seem like she's some sort of paradox. I can't talk about viewing figures without mentioning the stories with the most viewers. The City of Death and Destiny of the Daleks have the highest average viewers per story, receiving an average of 14.5 million and 13.48 million respectively, with the most viewed individual part having 16.1 million viewers, which is equivalent to over a quarter of the UK population. This is because there are only 3 channels to choose from at the time, and ITV was on strike when those episodes aired. These 2 stories stand out from the rest of the season, showing that this bump in viewers is not representative of the overall interest in Doctor Who. For a more accurate way to measure the viewers' opinions of each story, there is the Audience Appreciation Index. The Appreciation Index is a score given to shows from the results of surveys. This score is out of 100, however the methodology has changed over the years, so it's best to only compare stories released around the same time. And I find it interesting how the ratings from the general public can vary from fan consensus. A clear example of this is that The Empire of Death has a higher Appreciation Index than 73 Yards. I can't believe that anyone has particularly positive feelings towards The Empire of Death, never mind scoring high enough to get an average of 80.4, while on the other hand, 73 Yards got a score of 77.2. And this could be because series finales often receive higher scores, and also that The Empire of Death was watched by fewer people than 73 Yards, so it is likely that a higher proportion of viewers were fans, who would be more likely to rate it higher than a casual viewer. Another set of stories with surprising index scores come from Series 4, as The Doctor's Daughter got a score of 88, while Midnight only received 86, which is the lowest score given to any story in that series. While The Doctor's Daughter isn't a bad story, it is also not regarded as being much of a standout, yet Midnight is a story so good they're still trying to emulate it in 2025. As an example of the disparity of how these stories are perceived, the recent Doctor Who magazine poll ended with The Doctor's Daughter ranked in 28th, while Midnight achieved 4th place out of the 10th Doctor stories, though this isn't even the most extreme discrepancy between audience scores and fan polls. For the magazine poll of the 2nd Doctor stories, 1st place was awarded to the War Games, while the previous story, The Space Pirates, came to last. However, the War Games has an average audience appreciation score of 53.9, which is less than the 54.17 received by The Space Pirates. Given that the War Games aired over 10 weeks, it's possible that this could have led the audience to lose interest. Yet even at the time, The Space Pirates was still disliked, as Patrick Troughton apparently said that the story was dull and unwatchable before it even aired. And current fan consensus may be affected by the fact that only one episode of The Space Pirates has survived, as previously missing stories have become more well received after they were rediscovered, though I very much doubt it could ever be considered as good as the War Games. If you're interested in seeing more data like this, I've attached my Google site in the description, or at least it will be attached if I remember to do so. The site also allows for users to submit reviews for stories, so if that sounds like your thing, go ahead. And if you know any other weird stats you want to share, or just want to jabber about what you did for your last holiday, feel free to comment below.